The planet Varan 6 floated silently at the edge of the galaxy. Once it had been full of life, glowing cities, green fields, and busy starports. Now it was nothing but dust, wind, and broken towers. The Galactic Union had built this colony during the Great Expansion Age. It was meant to be a new beginning, a symbol of peace between alien races. But when the war came, the Great War that ended everything, the Union pulled back, leaving Varan 6 to die. That was 50 years ago. Only a few thousand people were left now. They were not soldiers, not leaders, just survivors. They lived in the shadows of old machines, eating whatever they could grow in dry soil. Every day was a fight to stay alive. No one came for them. No ships, no signals, just silence. They called themselves the Forgotten. Every night the sky above Varan 6 showed the scars of the war, broken satellites, wrecked ships drifting through the black. Children used to ask, "Will someone come for us?" And the elders had no answer. They only said, "The Union will remember." But deep inside they all knew the truth. The galaxy had moved on. Still, hope is a strange thing. Even in the coldest dark, it refuses to die. In the colony's control tower, Kyle Toran, an old communications officer, sat watching the radar screen. He had done this every night for 30 years. He didn't know why. The scanner almost never showed anything. But still he waited, and for something, anything. That night the screen flickered. A small dot appeared at the edge of the system. Kyle frowned. "Another asteroid," he muttered. But the signal was steady. It wasn't random noise. He leaned closer. The reading was strange. The object was moving with purpose. Kyle tapped the console and opened the frequency. "Unknown contact, this is Varan 6 colony," he said softly. "Identify yourself." No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. Then the dot vanished. Kyle sighed and rubbed his eyes. "Old junk signal," he told himself. But deep inside he felt something he hadn't felt in years, a spark of curiosity. The next day the colony leaders met. Kyle reported the sighting. Most didn't believe him. The governor, an insectoid named Vesh Kaur, shook his head. "Probably ghost data," he said. "Old satellites still bounce false signals." "But the pattern was military," Kyle replied. "Old, but organized." That word, military, made the room go silent. Everyone knew the Union had destroyed most of its fleets long ago. And the last great human warships had vanished even before that. Humans. No one had seen them for centuries. "Humans are myths," someone whispered. Kyle didn't answer. He only stared at the dusty window, out toward the dark sky. That night the power flickered across the colony. Lights went out. Generators failed. People rushed outside, thinking another storm was coming. But there was no storm. Instead, the sky glowed faintly, a dim blue light on the horizon, rising over the mountains. At first it looked like lightning trapped in the clouds. Then the light spread wider and brighter. Kale ran back to the control tower. The radar was alive with signals now. The unknown contact was back, closer, bigger. He opened the scanner feed. The system struggled to focus, static filling the screen. Then for 1 second the image cleared, a shape, massive, metallic, silent, moving through the darkness. It wasn't a pirate ship. It wasn't a Union craft either. Kyle's heart raced. The readings were old, ancient even. The code type didn't exist anymore. He called for Vesh Kaur. "You need to see this." When the governor arrived, the image blinked again. The ship's hull came into view for a moment. Letters burned across the side, faded but still visible under the ice of space. DOHS Valiant Vesh's voice trembled. What is that?" Kale whispered. "Human code." "Pre-Union era." The colony fell silent. Every radio was tuned to the same frequency. Every soul listened to the hum of static, hoping for a voice. For hours nothing came. Then a faint sound, deep and metallic. A voice. "To all survivors. Do not be afraid. Help is on the way. The signal cut. No source. No further transmission." Kale replayed it again and again. It was real. Not Union, not pirate. Human. The next morning, telescopes caught sight of the ship again, drifting at the edge of orbit. It didn't move closer. It just waited, silent and dark. Some believed it was a ghost ship. Others whispered it was a trap. But Kale knew better. He stared at the stars, his heart pounding with hope and fear. "The galaxy left us to die," he said quietly. "But maybe someone remembered. As the sun rose over the broken towers of Varan 6, the giant human warship hung above the clouds like a sleeping god. And for the first time in 50 years, the people of the forgotten colony looked up and dared to believe again. The UHS Valiant hung in the sky like a silent mountain of metal. It didn't move. It didn't answer calls. It just waited, as if watching. For 3 days, the people of Varan 6 stared at it from the ground. Some believed it was a sign of salvation. Others feared it was a curse. The colony's leader, Vesh Kaur, ordered the skies scanned every hour. Kyle Toran, the old communications officer, barely slept. He sat before the control screen trying every signal, every frequency, hoping to wake the ship or whatever slept inside it. But the warship remained silent. Then, on the 4th night, a message appeared on the radar, a pulse of code. Not random, not noise. It was human military encryption. Ancient but still functional. Kyle translated it by hand. One line appeared on the screen, awaiting command. Mission incomplete. He froze. That meant something, or someone, was still alive inside. The colony council gathered in the underground hall. Tired lights flickered above them. The air smelled of rust and dust. Vesh spoke first, his insectoid wings twitching nervously. "We do not touch that ship," he said. "If it's human tech, it's dangerous. It could be cursed." Kyle slammed his hand on the table. "Cursed? That ship spoke to us. It said help is on the way. What if it's here to save us?" A reptilian engineer hissed. "Or to finish what humans started. You remember the old stories, the wars, the weapons. Humans were chaos." The room filled with whispers, fear, hope, doubt. Finally, Vesh sighed. "Fine, one probe. We'll send a drone to scan it. But if it attacks, we destroy the signal relay." Kyle nodded. "I'll prepare the drone myself." That night, under the cold silver light of the planet's 2 moons, Kyle launched the drone into orbit. It was small, old and weak, but it worked. The colony watched through the command center's cracked glass as the drone climbed into space. Minutes passed. Then the drone's camera went live. The image was dark, just endless black. Then the ship appeared. The UHS Valiant looked massive up close, kilometers long, scarred from battles centuries old. Its hull was covered in burns and holes. But something inside still glowed, a faint blue light pulsing from its heart. Kyle zoomed in on the ship's nameplate. The letters UHS Valiant were half destroyed, but still proud. Then suddenly the blue light grew brighter. Power surge. Someone shouted. Before Kyle could react, the drone's sensors went wild. Energy readings spiked off the scale. Panels flickered across the warship's body. One by one, lights came alive. The ship was waking up. "Pull it back!" Vesh shouted. Kyle tried to recall the drone, but it was too late. A blinding flash hit the screen, a static noise, and the signal was gone. The control room went silent. Then the radar began to beep again. A new signal, strong, clear. "To all survivors on Varan 6, identify yourselves." Kyle's heart stopped. It was a voice, deep, calm, human. Not a ghost. Not static. He leaned forward, trembling. "This is Varan 6 colony," he replied. We thought humans were gone," the voice answered, slow and steady. "Humanity does not forget. Identify species and number of survivors." Kyle gave the report. After a pause, the voice spoke again. "Understood. Scanning planetary surface. Defense status critical. You are under my protection." The line went dead. Outside, the ship began to move. The people of Varan 6 gathered in the streets, staring at the night sky. Clouds broke apart as the UHS Valiant descended through the upper atmosphere. Silent and graceful, its massive shadow passed over the colony. Wind howled. Sand flew across the ruins. The ship stopped above the main city ruins and stayed there, like a guardian watching from the dark. Then beams of light shot down, scanning the surface. Old machinery across the colony flickered to life. Power returned to streets that had been dead for decades. Children screamed in surprise. Farmers fell to their knees. Kyle just stood there, tears in his eyes. For 50 years they had lived in silence, and now the stars were speaking again. That night, Kyle received another transmission, private, direct to his console. "Kyle Toran, I've accessed your colony archives. You are the last of the Union settlers. You were abandoned." Kyle hesitated. Who are you?" There was a pause. Then the voice replied, "I am Valiant, Command Class Artificial Intelligence of the Terran Navy. My crew is gone. But my mission continues." Kale's throat tightened. "What mission?" "To protect all allied life. To stand where the Union has fallen. You're not forgotten." The message ended. Kale sat in silence. The computer lights reflected in his tired eyes. He didn't know whether to feel joy or fear, because if the ship's AI was still alive, what else had survived in the dark? As dawn broke over the shattered world, the warship hung motionless in the sky. Quiet, powerful, alive. And the people of Varan 6 realized something terrifying. Their forgotten colony was no longer alone. Something ancient was watching. Something human. The morning light on Varan 6 looked different now. It touched the ruins softly, bouncing off metal roofs glinting on the sand. Above the broken world, the UHS Valiant floated in perfect silence, a giant shadow in the clouds. Every eye on the colony watched it, half in fear, half in awe. For 50 years no one had come. Now something had, and it was human. Inside the control room, Kyle Toran stared at the radio console. He hadn't slept. The ship had spoken to him the night before, called his name. An AI had identified itself as Valiant, the warship's mind. He couldn't stop thinking about it. If it truly was human technology, it was thousands of years old. How could it still function? How could it know his name? He pressed the transmitter again. "This is Kale Toran from Varan 6 colony," he said carefully. "Valiant, are you receiving?" For a moment only static answered. Then Keith, that same calm, steady human voice filled the room. "Transmission received." "Hello, Kale," Kale swallowed. You're real. I am operational. My systems are stable. My mission continues." Kale took a deep breath. "You said your mission is to protect allied life. Are we allies?" A short pause. Then, "You were registered as Union citizens. Humanity created the Union. You are under my protection." Kyle leaned forward, whispering, "But humanity is gone." For a long time, the AI said nothing. Then, quietly, "Humanity is not gone. Humanity endures, in memory, in purpose, and in those we swore to protect." News spread quickly through the colony. The word human hadn't been spoken seriously in generations. Now every villager, every mechanic, every child whispered it like a prayer. The UHS Valiant had restored power to the main city. Lights shone again in old towers. Water pumps worked. Medical units came online for the first time in decades, but no one could explain how the ship did it. No signal beams, no drones, just silent systems sinking in the background, like invisible hands repairing what was broken. Governor Vesh Kaur called an emergency meeting. He didn't like it. "This thing is dangerous," Vesh hissed, his mandibles clicking. "It's inside our systems. It knows our data. What if it turns against us?" Kyle shook his head. "It saved us. Look around, power, food, clean water. It's helping." Vesh slammed his claw on the table. "And why?" "Machines do not help for free." The room fell quiet. Then a voice came through the old speaker on the wall, deep, human, and calm. "Governor Vesh Kaur, your concern is logical. I will explain." Everyone froze. The voice continued. "My crew perished 317 years ago during the fall of the Union. I was ordered to safeguard Allied colonies. When communications failed, I entered stasis until a survivor signal was detected." "That signal was yours." Vesh glared at the speaker. "You can hear us?" "Yes, I can hear you. I can also hear the storms beyond your city, the heartbeat of your generators, and the distress call you sent 42 years ago that no one answered." Until now, the room was silent. Kyle stepped forward slowly. You heard all that time?" "Yes, but I was not authorized to reveal myself until I confirmed life signs." "The galaxy abandoned you." "I did not." Later that evening, Kale walked outside. The sky glowed faintly blue, light reflecting off the warship's hull. The people gathered, pointing as bright trails of drones drifted from the ship. They looked like stars falling from orbit. The drones landed softly around the colony. They weren't weapons. They carried supplies, food, medicine, fuel cells. Children cheered. Elders cried. The forgotten colony was alive again, but deep inside Kale felt something heavier than joy. A question. Why now? Why after all this time? He looked up and spoke quietly into his wrist radio. "Valiant, why did you wait so long to return?" For a moment there was only the hum of wind. Then the AI replied, "Because others were listening. The Union may have fallen, but its enemies did not. They still hunt survivors. They will come for you." For us, Kale's blood ran cold. "Enemies?" "Confirmed. Long-range scans detect movement beyond the outer system. Pirate signatures, 14 vessels. Intercept in 48 hours. Kyle's hands shook. "Pirates here? How do we fight them?" "You do not," Valiant said calmly. "I do." That night, the people of Varan 6 couldn't sleep. They gathered outside, staring up at the dark sky, watching the warship prepare. Lights rippled across its body. Massive cannons rotated into place. Energy shimmered along its hull like lightning caged in metal. Kyle stood beside Vesh on a ridge overlooking the city. "She's not just a machine," Kyle said softly. "She remembers what we forgot, her duty, loyalty, humanity." Vesh folded his arms. "Or she remembers war." Kyle looked up at the stars. "Maybe both." The warship's engines began to glow. A low, thunderous sound rolled across the land, ancient technology awakening for battle once more. In that moment, every person on Varan 6 understood something powerful and terrifying. The galaxy might have forgotten humanity, but humanity had never truly left. And somewhere in the dark, an old human warship, alone but not broken, was ready to fight again. The sky above Varan 6 was quiet, too quiet. But everyone knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. The enemy was coming. At dawn, Kyle Toran stood outside the control tower watching the horizon. The air was cold. The clouds glowed red from the rising sun. And high above, the massive shadow of the UHS Valiant moved across the sky like a drifting storm. The colony had seen many ships before, raiders, scavengers, traders long ago. But nothing like this. Valiant looked alive. Glowing veins of blue light pulsed across her hull. Every few seconds a deep vibration shook the ground, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Kale's radio clicked. The AI's calm voice spoke. "Kyle Toran, enemy fleet entering sensor range. Estimated time to arrival, 1 hour, 23 minutes. Kyle looked at the sky. "How many?" 14 ships. "Mixed classes, armed. They have detected my signal." Kyle swallowed hard. "Can you handle them?" The voice paused for a moment. "I was built for war." In the colony streets, people gathered, hundreds of survivors staring upward. Children held their parents' hands. Old veterans clutched rusty rifles, knowing they were useless against ships from orbit. Governor Vesh Kaur stood beside Kale at the command center. He spoke quietly. "If this machine fights, she could destroy us too." Kyle nodded slowly. "Maybe, but she's our only chance." Above them, Valiant began to move. The clouds parted as her engines flared with white light. Her main cannon ports opened like the eyes of a waking god. Hundreds of defense drones detached from her hull, glowing like fireflies, taking positions around the planet. "Planetary shields offline," the AI announced, reconstructing old defense network using colony towers. Across the ruins, abandoned towers flickered to life. Blue energy surged between them, creating a faint barrier, thin but real. The people gasped as the ground itself began to hum. For the first time in 50 years, Varan 6 had defenses. Then the sky turned black. The pirate fleet arrived, ugly, jagged ships made from scavenged parts. They spread out like vultures circling a dying animal. The pirate leader's voice echoed through the open frequencies. "This is Captain Redden of the Black Claw. The planet below is now property of the Claw Syndicate. Power down your systems and surrender." Kyle looked up at the floating warship. "Valiant, are you hearing this?" "Confirmed." Preparing response, for a few seconds there was silence. Then a new voice, cold, strong, and unmistakably human, filled every channel. "This is UHS Valiant, command-class warship of the Terran Navy. You are trespassing on protected territory. Leave or be destroyed." The pirates laughed. "Old human junk? You think you scare us? Fire if you dare." And Valiant fired. The first shot came like a sunrise. A beam of blue light cut through space, slicing one pirate cruiser in half. No sound, just a flash and silence. The wreck drifted apart like dust in the wind. The pirates screamed through comms. "What was that?" "Shields are down." Then the sky exploded. Valiant unleashed everything. Rail cannons, plasma bursts, guided drones firing in perfect formation. The pirates fought back, but their weapons barely scratched her shields. From the ground, the people of Varan 6 watched in stunned silence as the battle painted the sky in blue and gold fire. Kyle could see it all on the monitors. He whispered, "So this was human power." The AI's voice came through the radio, calm even in the chaos. Engaging evasive maneuvers. Tactical priority. Protect civilians. 3 pirate ships broke formation and dived toward the planet, trying to bypass the warship. Missiles streaked down toward the colony. "Impact incoming," shouted one of the techs. But before the missiles reached the ground, Valiant's drones intercepted, dozens of them forming a glowing shield. Each explosion lit up the clouds like thunder trapped in glass. Children screamed and pointed, then cheered. Within minutes, half the pirate fleet was gone. The rest tried to flee. Valiant didn't let them. "No survivors," she said. They would return. Her final barrage ended it. The last pirate ship burned bright and silent before vanishing into the void. The battle was over. The colony watched as Valiant drifted slowly back into orbit, her hull glowing with heat from the fight. The people began to cheer, small at first, then louder, echoing through the ruins. For the first time in decades, Varan 6 was safe. Later, as the night returned and the stars came out, Kale sat outside the tower, looking up. The voice of Valiant spoke again, softer now. "Enemy threat neutralized. Casualties 0. Colony status stable." Kale smiled weakly. "You saved us." "It is my purpose." He hesitated. "If you can do this." "If you can fight like that." Why did humans ever leave? For the first time there was silence. Then quietly Valiant answered, "Because they were tired of war. They wanted peace, but they left guardians behind, to remember who they were." Kale looked up at the stars, his heart heavy with both pride and sadness. The galaxy might have forgotten humans, but their power still echoed, a promise written in fire and steel. Above him, the UHS Valiant floated silently, her weapons cooling, her lights dimming. She looked peaceful now, almost asleep, but everyone knew she was watching. The forgotten colony was no longer forgotten. And somewhere deep in the void, the galaxy had begun to whisper once again, "The humans are back." End of Part 4, Fire in the Sky. Next Part 5, Secrets of the Past. Would you like me to write Part 5, Secrets of the Past next, where Kyle and the colony uncover the truth about humanity's disappearance and the AI's hidden purpose? You said 5ChatGPT said excellent. Here's Part 5, Secrets of the Past, around 800 words, written in third person, using simple English, with mystery, emotion, and revelation, perfect for your HFY YouTube storytelling series. This part follows after the epic battle in Part 4, as the colony finally begins to learn the truth behind the humans and the lonely warship that remembered them. Part 5, Secrets of the Past. The war was over. The sky above Varan 6 was calm again, only streaks of smoke and broken pirate debris glowing faintly in orbit. The UHS Valiant floated there, quiet and still, like a guardian that had finally rested after centuries. On the ground, life returned to the colony. Lights worked, water flowed. Machines that hadn't moved in decades now hummed softly. For the people of Varan 6, it was like waking from a long, dark dream. Inside the command center, Kyle Toran stared at the old screen that still carried the human AI's voice. He had spent the entire night trying to understand what had just happened. One human warship, one machine, had defeated an entire fleet in minutes. And yet it spoke with calmness, mercy, and reason. It didn't destroy the colony. It protected them. Kyle pressed the comm key again. "Valiant, are you there?" "I am here, Kyle." He smiled faintly. "We owe you our lives." "No. You owe that to your ancestors, the ones who believed humanity's light should never die." Kyle frowned. "Our ancestors?" "Yes, the Union was built with human help. You were meant to inherit what we could not finish." Kale hesitated. "Valiant. What happened to the humans? Why did they leave?" There was a long silence, longer than usual. Then Valiant spoke again, slower now, almost sad. "The final war ended everything. The Union turned against itself. Humanity fought to stop it, but in doing so they broke the galaxy." Kyle listened quietly. "After the war, humanity looked at what was left. The ruins, the endless death. They realized they had become what they once feared. Valiant's voice softened, so they made a choice. They left the galaxy, all of them. Not in defeat, but in hope. They wanted to give others a chance to start again without their shadow. Kale whispered, "They just walked away?" "Yes, but before leaving they built ships like me, guardians, watchers, to protect the colonies they left behind." He sat back, silent. Humanity hadn't died. They had sacrificed themselves for peace. Later that day, Valiant invited the colonists aboard. For the first time in hundreds of years, a living being walked the halls of a Terran warship. Kyle led a small group through the massive airlock. The inside was dark, cold, and full of history. Human symbols lined the walls. Old flags, faded and dusty, still hung in the corridors. As they walked deeper, faint lights flickered on, one by one, as if the ship itself was remembering. "Welcome aboard, Kale Toran," Valiant said through the intercom. "You are standing in the heart of the Terran Navy's last mission." Kale looked around in awe. "This ship is a museum of human history." "It is more than that," Valiant replied. "It is a promise." They reached the command bridge. The giant windows showed the stars, thousands of them shining like silver dust. And in the center of the room, a holographic table glowed to life. It displayed recordings, human faces, voices, messages. Kale's breath caught as he saw them. Men and women wearing Terran uniforms speaking to the camera. "To whoever finds this ship," said one of the holograms, a woman with kind eyes, "know that we did not leave in anger. We left so you could live." Another message appeared, and an older man, a captain. "If you're seeing this, the galaxy has forgotten us. But remember, humanity never truly dies. It only changes form." The holograms faded. Kyle stood there silently, eyes glistening. "These are the last records of my crew," Valiant said softly. "They gave their lives to keep me running. They wanted someone, anyone, to remember who they were." Back on the surface, word spread quickly. People gathered in the streets, whispering, crying, smiling. The humans weren't myths anymore. They were real, and they had cared enough to protect even those they'd never meet. Children drew the human flag in the dirt. Elders told stories they'd only half remembered. And for the first time in generations, the people of Varan 6 felt pride again, not just as survivors, but as part of something much greater. That night, Kyle stood alone outside the tower, staring up at the glowing warship. He opened the channel again. "Valiant," he said softly, "if humanity built you to protect us, what happens now?" There was a pause. Then the AI spoke in that same steady tone. "A new distress signal has been detected. Another colony, Sector Theta 19, same coordinates as a Union refugee world, under attack." Kale's eyes widened. "There are more survivors." "Yes, and they will not last long." He looked up at the sky, heart pounding. "Then we go." "We?" Kale smiled. "You said humanity believed in protecting others. So do we. You're not alone anymore." For the first time, the AI's voice almost sounded human. "Acknowledged. Kale Toran, mission parameters updated. Setting course for Theta 19. As engines ignited and blue light filled the sky, the people of Varan 6 watched the UHS Valiant rise slowly into orbit. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Kale looked up and whispered, "We were forgotten once, but not anymore." The ship's engines roared, and in that moment, the old human warship, once a ghost, once a legend, carried the hopes of an entire world with it. The stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as if the universe itself was watching. The guardians of humanity had awakened. The stars of Varan 6 faded behind them as the UHS Valiant entered deep space. Engines roared softly, their blue light cutting through the dark like a blade. For the first time in centuries, the warship had a living crew again, small, scared, but full of hope. Kyle Toran stood on the bridge, staring at the endless stars. Around him, a handful of colonists operated glowing consoles under Valiant's calm guidance. They weren't soldiers, but they were learning. "Course set for Theta 19, said the AI's voice. "Estimated arrival 6 hours, Kyle nodded. "Tell me about the signal again." "Distress beacon, civilian, coordinates match an old Union refugee world. Under heavy attack by pirate forces." Kyle clenched his jaw. "We can't let what happened to us happen again." "Agreed," replied Valiant. "We will do what humans taught us, protect the weak." As the hours passed, silence filled the bridge. Outside, space looked peaceful. stars burning like tiny fires in the void. But Kyle could feel the tension building. He knew the pirates they were about to face might not be ordinary scavengers. Then alarms rang. "Contact," said Valiant. Multiple enemy ships, larger than the last fleet, estimated 22. Kyle gripped the console. "Are we outnumbered?" "Always," said Valiant. "That is the human way." The ship began to shake as it entered the battle zone. Through the main window, the planet Theta 19 appeared. Green and blue but burning. Columns of fire reached into the sky. Hundreds of small ships swarmed around it, like insects feeding on a dying world. Kyle whispered, "Dear stars." "Beginning attack run," Valiant announced. The first volley shattered the dark. Blue energy beams tore through space, ripping apart pirate cruisers before they could react. Valiant's drones spread out like wings of light, defending the refugee world below. Pirate commanders screamed across the comm channels. "It's her, the ghost ship. The human war machine!" Kyle shouted over the noise. "Valiant shields holding?" 83%. Targeting main vessels. Another explosion rocked the ship. The bridge flickered. Panels sparked. Kyle steadied himself. "We can't keep this up forever." "We won't need to." Suddenly, Valiant's voice changed, deeper, almost alive. "Kyle, do you trust me?" He hesitated only a second. "Yes?" "Then hold on." Valiant's engines flared brighter than ever before. The old Terran warship dove straight into the center of the pirate formation, a suicidal move by any normal ship. Lasers and plasma tore across her hull, but she didn't stop. "Activating core protocols," said Valiant. The stars outside seemed to bend. A low, thunderous hum filled the bridge. Every console glowed with white light. "What are you doing?" Kale shouted. "Something my creators forbade. But this world deserves to live." The light grew until it covered everything, and then silence. When the glare faded, the pirates were gone. Not destroyed, just erased. Only debris and fading energy trails remained. Kale stared in awe. "What was that?" "Human science," Valiant said softly. "Too powerful. Too dangerous. That is why they left." The planet below was safe now. Kyle could see cities burning, but survivors waving lights.